Football, from the Latin futium volumius, meaning football. More than a game, more than an obsession, more than a feeling. It was the best of games, it was the worst of games, and mine eyes have seen the goalie and the coming of the VAR. These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. One of these days, these boots are going to rake their studs on you, because this is real, this is life, this is football.
And this is me, Chick Young, welcoming you into Only an Excuse, Chico's Hall of Fame. What would you say is the essence of Kenny Dalglish?
In the past, I've been accused of indecision, but if you were to ask me right now if Kenny Dalglish is indecisive, I would say maybe he's aye, maybe he's no.
Would you say there is an air of mystery around the enigma that is you, Kenny Dalglish?
If people don't know what Kenny Dalglish is doing, then how can people know what Kenny Dalglish does? I'm sorry, but if you don't know, and I don't know, and we don't tell anybody what it is we don't know, then how's anybody going to know what it is we're not telling them about?
What's the most important thing in football?
There's only one thing that matters in football, and that is winning, and not getting beat. So I suppose that means that a draw matters too.
Kenneth Matheson Dalglish, the man who would be King Kenny. Born a true blue Glasgow boy in Dalmarnock, you moved to upmarket Milton before heading off to the beautiful south side to be near the home of the glorious Glasgow Rangers, the team you supported as a boy.
If you say so, Charles.
Not just me saying it, these are the words of no bigger an authority than Wikipedia.
Well, must be true then.
And they were not alone in having plenty to say about you, starting with the legend that is Graham Souness.
Yeah, for sure. Kenny was a superb player, absolutely world class. Sometimes when we were playing for Liverpool, I was tempted to tackle him just to give the other team a chance.
Charlie Nicholas.
On the pitch, honestly, Kenny had the vision of a beagle.
Alan McAnally.
Gott in Himmel, Achtung, Spitfire, ich bin ein Binliner. Apart from being a good personal friend of myself, Kenny is more than ein King. He is der Kaiser, Vorsprung durch der Kicker, as we say, at Bayern in München, with Bayern in Germany.
And Peter Beardsley.
Well, it's just like with Kenny, he was like like to Ken Dalglish, yeah, he's he's wonderful, when we're playing Kenny Dalglish.
Well, that's awful nice of Peter to say that, I think. So, King Kenny, let me jump in the Chico DeLorean and travel back in time to before your coronation, when you were just plain Kenny. As a young man in Glasgow, it's well documented that you grew up as a Rangers supporter, and who can blame you? But alas, you were the one that got away from Scotland's most successful domestic club of all time. You joined the other mob, and from that day until this, Celtic is the Scottish team you'll forever be associated with.
Yeah, you're right, Chick. I've filled so many roles at Celtic. So, like say, trainee, reserve, substitute, first team regular, captain, manager, director of football, and ultimately director of golf. Each role was different. And that's what's made the roles not the same, That's the thing about roles, A sausage roll is nothing like a Swiss roll. And fig rolls are nothing like a Rolls Royce. And, when you think about it, It's the same with football.
Okay, so let's go back. When your parents decided to move to the south side, was it because they wanted you to be nearer Ibrox Stadium, your spiritual home?
Not really, no. It's because we were offered a better house.
I suppose we better get it over with, but allow me to grit my teeth and hold my nose as I ask you, tell us about why you signed for them.
Aye, okay. Well, as a boy, I was a Rangers fan, but not what you would call a right blue nose.
More's the pity.
But I wanted to be the best professional footballer I could possibly be, and Celtic at that time were managed by Jock Stein. So for me, it was a no-brainer.
Some excuse.
Every professional footballer wants to be successful, and I felt my best chance at that was at Celtic Park. Because don't forget, every day I was training next to the likes of Jimmy Johnson and Tommy Gemmell and Bobby Murdoch.
Aye, okay. No need to rub it in. There is a rumour, a story, a myth, or perhaps even a fable that when Sean Fallon, Jock Stein's right-hand man, came to your house to ask you to join Celtic, that you had to tear down the posters of your Rangers heroes in your bedroom. Is that true, or is it an apocryphal tale?
I don't know if it's apocryphal, but I do know it's rubbish. We had the meeting in the living room. We never went anywhere near my bedroom. And if there were any posters on the wall, it would be more likely to be the likes of Raquel Welch, Julie Edge, and Neris Hughes at the Liverbirds than the likes of football players,
All right, I had Susan George on my wall, and that lassie tennis player with her skirt hooked up at the back, eh? But listen, getting back to the football, when did you complete the deed and sell your soul and actually sign the contract in blood?
Funnily enough, I signed a contract for Celtic round about the 25th of May, 1967.
A date that will live in infamy.
And then I was farmed out to a junior club. That was quite common in those days, and I ended up at Cumbernauld United.
Cumbernauld? That's a bit cruel, is it no?
Well, aye. And it was worse than it sounded because we actually played our home games in a park in Kilsyth.
And as was common practice back then, the club fixed you up with an apprenticeship as well, a good solid trade to fall back on.
That's right. I was an apprentice joiner. I wasn't bad at it. I was quite good at putting up shelves, which was handy, given all the trophies and medals I would soon be picking up with Celtic. It was a good trade to have, but to be honest, I didn't like being a joiner. Because, see, I hated getting skelfs.
Back in those early days, you were part of a perhaps overrated generation of young Celtic talents known as the Quality Street Gang. I'm sure the fans would like to know by wanting me to ask, if you were a Quality Street, which one would you be? The orange cream, the blue coconut eclair, the big purple one with the hazelnut and caramel?
Given that I was playing in midfield alongside George Conley and Davy Hay, I'd say that if I were a Quality Street, I would be the green triangle. But Quality Street are for sharing, so I would have one to give you.
And what would that be?
The toffee finger.
Your breakthrough season came in season 71-72, and I particularly remember one Old Firm match against the mighty Rangers at Ibrox when, as usual, Celtic got a penalty, and you stepped up to take it. But before you did, you bent down and retied your bootlaces. Did you do that to psych out Rangers keeper Peter McCloy, or was it to demonstrate you were coolness personified?
No, it was because my bootlace was loose and it needed tied. I didn't want it to come flying off and maybe hit big gas meter in the coupon.
Although it pains me to say it, the first half of the 70s belonged to you and Celtic, as they became the first Scottish team to do 9 in a row, and better still, the first Scottish team to fail to do 10 in a row. From that day onwards, the 10 had remained the Holy Grail, tied round the neck of an albatross, as Neil Lennon will testify to.
It's a pressure that doesn't go away, you know. It's all the fans want to talk about, you know, whether it's discussing Moses and the commandments or their favourite Bo Derek film, you know. The number that keeps coming up is 10. To be honest, I never thought of it as the 10. To me, it was just the one between 9 and 11.
Kenny, your record at Celtic was, to be fair, outstanding. 4 league titles, 4 Scottish Cups, a League Cup, 1 Dryborough Cup, 1 Glasgow Cup, and while we're on the subject of your many triumphs, Kenneth, can I remind you of one of your uncountable number of goals you scored for Celtic in a big final at Hampden? It's October 1971. The League Cup is up for grabs, a crisp autumn afternoon. The sun is setting, 20 minutes to go in the second half. Suddenly the ball skitters across the goal line and you pounce with your lightning reactions to knock it into the net. Did you turn to the Celtic fans and beam that trademark $1 million smile? No. And that was because it was the consolation goal for Celtic in Partick Thistle's memorable League Cup final 4-1 romp. Yeah, beauty. But I digress. It's just the memory of that afternoon never fails to make me chuckle. But moving on, as Scotland's most capped player of all time, you amassed a mighty haul of 102 caps for Scotland. It remains a world record for Scotland international caps, achieved by a Scottish Scotsman. Just a reminder that you are listening to Only an Excuse, Chico's Hall of Fame.
I try not to get too big-headed about having 102 caps. Although, if I had a bigger head, then maybe I could fit all 102 caps on my napper at once.
OK, so let us dance backwards through the mists of time, your kingship. In 1972, your Scotland debut against Belgium at Pittodrie was a tough squad to get into. Back then, Scotland were playing Belgium, but it wasn't the Scotland of today versus the Belgium of the now. Back then, Belgium were more like the current-day Scotland, and Scotland were the present-day Belgium.
Well, you know, when you get your chance for Scotland, you had to step up to the plates. No use leaving the dishes steeping in fairy liquid. You had to roll up your sleeves, squeeze your spongy scourer, and get tore into the plates. That's what I'd done.
And the boy done Gallus.
Well, check, I was just a young boy going to the World Cup in 1974, and we beat Zaire, then drew with Brazil, and then drew with Yugoslavia. And that made it a Scotland World Cup finals like no other in history, as for once, we never get beat. That fact alone still baffles many scholars of the game.
In 1978, Scotland qualified for the World Cup finals for the second time in a row. England, once again, were left at home to cut the grass, blow up the paddling pool and argue with the neighbours over protruding bits of hedge. But we booked our ticket to the big one when your glorious goal sealed a sensational 2-0 win over Wales for Ali MacLeod's side.
Scotland were playing Wales away, and the game was played at Anfield, which was my home ground, which was good of them, you know. I never knew Liverpool was part of Wales, but there you go. I headed the ball into the net, and on the commentary, Arthur Montfort says, "Argentina, here we come." So it was nice to score such a crucial goal, you know, and nice to set up Arthur's holidays for him.
You must have some unforgettable memories of your Scotland teammates of the 1970s.
Aye, I do.
Care to share them with us?
Only the unforgettable ones. The forgettable ones I've forgotten.
Fair enough. So, into the 80s, during this time, you formed a formidable Scotland strike partnership up front with the one and only Frank McAvenny. Macca, the man, the myth, the maestro, shares this memory with us exclusively for the Hall of Fame.
Ken Kenny? You know, he was my idol, you know. I learnt so much off of Kenny, you know. Taught the Frankie boy to always keep your eyes on the prize. Singularity of thought, quickness of tongue, speed of movement. I stuck in, I worked hard, and eventually late one Saturday afternoon in 1987, I made it from Celtic Park to Glasgow Airport to Stringfellows in London in 3 hours, 29 minutes. Right? There you go. Shocka-rooney. Cheers, King Kendo. You are, is, and never shall be a living legend.
Frank McAvenny there, Celtic legend, Scotland legend, and a shoo-in for a place in Chico's Night Out 11. Someone else who would like to pay tribute to you now is fellow Celtic and Scotland international Charlie Nicholas.
I'm sitting here thinking Kenneth Dalglish sits head and shoulders above them all. Bar-wise, he raises our bar to a bar level that bars all challengers bar none. He can make something out of pure nothing. If he fell in the Clyde, he came up with a sandwich. Kenny scored goals for fun, but also money, cups and caps.
Some of the finest words ever heard there, although not necessarily in the correct order. When Charlie Nicholas emerged at Celtic, lots of people said he was the new Kenny Dalglish. Is that something you've been aware of throughout your career?
Over the years, Kenny Dalglish has often noticed players been described as the new Kenny Dalglish. Charlie Nicholas, Simon Donnelly and Kevin Gallagher have all been called the new Kenny Dalglish. But the footballer Kenny Dalglish thinks bears the closest resemblance to Kenny Dalglish would have to be my son Paul Dalglish, certainly in the cooping department, and also the fact that we share the same name, Dalglish.
Talking of which, and looking ahead with the benefit of foresight, mixed with the hype building to the hysteria of Euro 20/21, many of the Tartan Army are hailing Lyndon Dykes as the new Kenny Dalglish. Would you agree?
Well, when I look at Lyndon Dykes and I see that he dyes his hair crazy colours, he's Australian, his auntie plays the didgeridoo, his game is nothing like mine, and he plays football in an incomparable era to the one I played in. But other than me and Lyndon being totally different, then I agree. We're very similar.
You're one of Scotland's most decorated footballers of all time. In 2004, my old mucker, Edson Arantes do Nascimento, named you as the only Scot in his FIFA 100 greatest all-time names in football.
Aye, well, that was nice of Pelé. Although his list of 100 contained 125 names. But that's Pelé for you, great at football, garbage at arithmetic. I wouldn't want Pelé keeping up his own score at keepy uppy.
Kenny, I'd like to, if I may, hod the bus, do a 3-point turn and head back in the opposite direction because I forgot to bring it up earlier. Season 75-76. That was a sensational season because it was the season you were made captain of Celtic. And the Rangers won the treble. What was it like being the captain of a Celtic team that won nothing, zilch, hee-haw, for the first time in 12 years?
Well, to be honest, it was a bit of a scunner. But the following year, we won the double, so it wasn't that bad.
And then you announced that after 302 games and 167 goals for your beloved Celtic, you were for the offski. Liverpool had come a-calling, and there was no way you were saying no. Can you remember the transfer fee?
I can remember it exactly. It was £440,000.
That's right, £440,000. The equivalent of that today would be a ridiculous $2,754,000, although the equivalent to Celtic supporters was 30 pieces of silver. Honestly, what are they like? I'm surprised they weren't outside Celtic Park throwing barriers at your motor. OK, but moving on. Let's head south to the banks of the River Mersey, where Penny Lane meets Strawberry Fields and All You Need Is Love with Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. If the Beatles were 4 lads who shook the world, Kenny Dalglish was one lad about to shake up English football. One Anfield legend awaited your arrival with great expectations. The one and only Bill Shankly.
As
You see, Kenny Dalglish, he can turn on a sixpence and then come back for the change. This boy will do well at Liverpool because, he is the blood of Bruce in his veins. That's Bruce as in Robert, no Bruce as in Forsyth. And to be fair, it didn't take you long to make the cop forget all about their previous idol, Kevin Keegan.
I think scoring the winner in the European Cup final against Bruges in my first season had a lot to do with that.
You're probably right. Although, to be fair, Bruges were a bit of a diddy team. I mean, I could have scored against them. But the point is, at Liverpool, you settled quickly. Just a reminder that you're listening to Only an Excuse, Chico's Hall of Fame.
When I left Celtic Park, the fans sung You'll Never Walk Alone. And when I arrived at Anfield, the fans sung You'll Never Walk Alone. So right away, I noticed neither fans were alone in singing You'll Never Walk Alone. Throughout my playing career, I never felt alone, mainly because folk kept singing You'll Never Walk Alone. Amen.
And that was a legendary Liverpool team with a tartan tinge. You were just one of a legion of jocks bossing English football with a kilt-swinging swagger.
Well, at Liverpool, I teamed up with Graham Souness, who had played at a high level with Middlesbrough and Tottenham Hotspur, and Alan Hansen, who had no experience of top-level football whatsoever, as he'd come from Partick Thistle.
Do you still go to see Liverpool often these days?
Aye, although when I do go to the stadium these days, I need to wear sunglasses.
So you don't get recognised?
Well, so the glare for Jurgen Klopp's teeth doesn't dazzle me. But Jurgen Klopp is a great manager. But he needs to knock it in the head with they baseball caps. I mean, come on, Jurgen. We're trying to retain the title here. No shooting a remake of the Anfield rap video.
Well, Kenny, I believe we can hear now from the man whose bahookie currently resides in the Liverpool hot seat. I'm talking about the one and only godfather of heavy metal football, Jurgen Klopp, who took time out of his busy schedule of moaning about the amount of substitutes he's allowed in the Premier League to say this for the Hall of Fame.
Kenny Dalglish. Well, yeah, I mean, come on, for sure. It is normal to say he is my inspiration at Liverpool. Sometimes I speak to Kenny and I speak to Andrew Robertson together, so I can better appreciate Scottish football culture, and also so Andrew can translate for me some words which Kenny is saying. But no, hey, no, it's fine. It's I pick up a lot. Yeah, so I salute Dalglish as a legend. And no, maybe it's yeah or maybe it's nine about it. Yeah, yes, it's fine.
Kenny, when you were in your pomp in the pitch, you flourished with a type of artistic artistry that could be framed and hung in the Louvre. And like a great artwork, nobody could touch you. As a manager, you regularly faced fellow Scots in the dugout, and we can hear from your old Scotland gaffer and managerial rival, Sir Alex Ferguson, right now.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm proud, very proud to pay a glowing tribute to one of the all-time national treasures. When they made Ken Dalglish, they broke the mould. They really did, which is a shame because we could have done with that mould in recent years, to make a few decent strikers during one of our many, many international goal droughts, I mean, as a Scottish football legend, Kenny definitely deserves to be uttered in the same breath as yours truly. And, to be honest with you, I can pay him no higher tribute than that. Really can't. That was nice of Sir Alex, because he's done well down south, winning the league with Manchester United. One single club. Because, see, I done it with two. Liverpool and Blackburn Rovers. But who's counting? Me. I'm counting. And two is one more than one.
People do tend to forget your successful time at Blackburn Rovers with sugar daddy Jack Walker, but to be fair, I mean, come on, Kenny, I could have managed them with the amount of money you were given to spend. But listen, sticking with your managerial career, I'm going to be controversial here. Maybe young children and people of a nervous disposition should leave the room because I'm going to drop the F-bomb by using the F word. And that F word is failure. Not a word you are familiar with, but would it be fair to say that your time at Newcastle United was the only part of your career that came close to being described by such a word?
Who can say? There were problems at Newcastle. And to be fair, I took a bit of stick for bringing in John Barnes, who was 34 at the time, Ian Rush, 36, and Stuart Pearce, 35. But, see, I've always believed in giving youth a chance.
Kenny, just a bit of fun, what I like to call my quick fire questions because they're quick and I fire them at you, and the answers have to be quick fire too. So try to make your answers as brief as possible.
Brief as possible? Right, okay. Hey, I'll try, Charles. Do my best, all right?
Okay, here goes. Kenny Dalglish, Glaswegian or Liverpudlian?
Despite my accent, Glaswegian.
Does a quadruple treble mean anything?
Aye,
Are you sure?
definitely.
Celtic or Liverpool?
Scotland.
Greatest Scottish player of all time?
Dennis Law.
Did someone tell you to say that?
Dennis Law.
Is there one team you didn't play for but wish you had?
No.
Last chance. Is there one team you didn't play for but wish you had?
No.
Oh, well, God loves a trier.
No, if that tires you. All right, Charles.
There have been ups and downs, highs and lows, ins and outs in football. You've seen the good, the bad and the ugly, and you've come through it all with a fistful of dollars and a few dollars more. But surely the icing on the cherry at the top of the cake arrived in 2018 when Mayor Kenny Dalglish, OBE, became Sir Kenny Dalglish.
Just to correct you, Charles, I became Sir Kenny Dalglish, OBE. They don't take the OBE back when they give you a knighthood,
Well, I wouldn't know whether. Kenny Dalglish, on the day Her Majesty tapped each shoulder with her outsized chib, you said you were humbled and a wee bit embarrassed to receive such an honour. I hope you're equally humbled and a wee bit embarrassed right now as you are inducted into the Only Excuse Chico's Hall of Fame. Your Highness, the floor is yours.
What can I say? I know what some folk would want me to say, Maybe it's aye, maybe it's no. Could be, could no be. But I'm not going to say it because this isn't about what Ken Dalglish has to say. This is about what Ken Dalglish hasn't. And if you don't like what Ken Dalglish is saying about what's already been said, then you'd better take that up with Ken Dalglish.
Different class.